How much do you need to make to buy a house in Forney, Texas? That's the exact answer we're going to get to throughout this video. I say throughout this video because I'm going to give you different scenarios of yearly gross income, how much we need to make. So we're going to be looking at Forney, the real estate in Forney, the good and the bad. We're going to be looking at property taxes. We're going to be looking at different price points, which is where we come back to give you different yearly gross income necessary to purchase a home in Forney. So we're going to go into the least expensive homes in Forney, and we're going to price those out when it comes to the salary that we need. And then we're going to go into the middle price and the more expensive side of town. So that's what we're going to be doing today to give us an idea of what we need to be making in order to purchase a house in Forney. So with that being said, that's the premise, that's the goal, that's what we're up against. As you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. It's going to really help us get to as many people that need this type of information. Let me test the audio real quick. Seems to be working. So again, likes are free. Likes are very appreciated. And get this going. All right, so let's do this. Let's go into Forney. Let's figure out what type of real estate we have to work with. So in Forney, Texas, it's one of my favorite towns because there's so much new construction going on. And if you've been following this channel with any regularity, thank you. But also know that I absolutely love Forney for that new construction. New construction is our jam. We really appreciate anything new. All right, so Forney, Texas, there's 210 properties available for sale right now, with the average price point being $439. Now, don't let that $439 fool you. It's skewed up a little bit higher, one, because it has all types of real estate included, but also there's a lot of new construction out here, and new construction typically isn't the least expensive in the world. Now, Forney is a little bit different because it actually has some very inexpensive homes, especially new homes. So it's a little bit different, but still that does skew our average price point, especially for a smaller town like Forney, slightly. So just don't run away from it quite yet. Let's see what we got first. All right, so first let's understand where in the heck Forney, Texas is, because this might be a brand new town for you. Forney is almost as far east as we're going to get to. In this particular channel, the furthest east that we get to on the channel, at least southeast wise, is Kaufman. So we're here right on this little, almost like a little triangle, if you will, between Rockwall, Seagoville, and Kaufman. If you're looking for new construction, just straight up new builds that are inexpensive or the least expensive new builds in the area, in DFW towards the Dallas side, I know I'm adding so many different layers to it, you're gonna be in here. I mean, there's so much new construction. You have DR Horton out here, you have Lennar out here, you have Highland Homes out here, you have all the major builders out here. From a higher price point, you're going to be up here in the Heath and Sunnyvale area, but the lower price point, you will find a ton of opportunities here. First time home buyers in Texas, are there any programs? There are. So you're going to find some national programs. You're also going to find some city dependent programs. If you want to email us at hello@the DFW Homeowner, you're going to, we'll gladly send you some programs more in the area that you're looking for, Tanya. It's a really good question. We get that quite a bit. So there are some programs. Again, there's the national programs, depending on loans. There's some bank sponsored programs. There's city dependent programs. So you're going to have some options to work with, especially if you're a first time home buyer. There's going to be some opportunities for you. Really good question. All right, so let's dig into this. Let's dig in a little bit more. And thanks for being here, Tanya. Appreciate that. Let's dig in and see what type of real estate we're working with. Right now, there's 157 homes, single-family homes available for sale in Forney right now. The least expensive home is, you're not seeing this wrong. It is a shack. It does appear to be a shack. No, it's a manufactured home, so I shouldn't be joking about that. You have $75,000 is the least expensive property. This actually categorized incorrectly. It's not a single family residence, unless there's something back there that I'm kind of missing. But this is more of a manufactured home that you don't typically see in these searches. So we might not do the breakdown. Actually, we won't be doing the breakdown on this. The way that we do this particular series of the salary needed to buy in a particular area, here we're talking about Forney in this particular example. We like to take the least expensive property in the area. Then we go into a mid price point. So we're here, if there's 7 pages, we're looking at about 4 or 5, somewhere in there. And then the most expensive home. So right now, to give us some bookends to work with, the least expensive home in the Forney, in the city of Forney, is, we're going to call it $199,000. I know technically this one's it, but I feel that this one's actually miscategorized. So we'll call it $200,000 is what we're going to do the math around. And then you see the rest of the properties. You have, what's that? 15, 20, 30, about 30 properties available for sale right now in the city of Forney under $300,000. Now, this is probably one of the biggest reasons that so many folks that that work in Dallas, choose to move out here in Forney, because it is pretty darn close to hop on 80 or hop on 20 and get to Dallas and buy the real estate that they actually need, more because of the home that they're looking for. All right, so I'm being very careful on my moving left and moving right, because it appears to take us to different parts of the internet. All right, so now we're in the 300,000s. We're gonna do very, very, very brief overview of the type of real estate available. Let me move myself just so you can see better. So at this price point, you see 334, you start seeing new construction. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to new builds, especially out here in Forney. They are affordable. And even this one, they categorize it as a fixer-upper. I don't know why that's the case. That is, I don't know why it's categorized as a fixer-upper when this looks like a brand new home, but I don't know. All right, so new home 350, 367, 377. All right. So a lot of new construction. All right, so let's jump to the end, because we got to do the calculation on this. So how much do we need to make to buy a house in the city of Forney? Well, you see there's 2 properties that are over $1 million out here. And this lets us know that we're looking at $4.6 million and then $3.3 million. Now, whenever we do our breakdowns, we'll usually not go as high into the millions. This particular case, we might. We'll probably cap it around the 975. Unless y'all want me to do the 3 million and the 4 million property, we can absolutely break it down. That won't take us too long, just to give you a glimpse of what that would look like. We might do it, but for right now, we're gonna stick to the 975 to give you an idea of what that type of real estate would look like. All right, so let's start putting in some numbers to our calculator. Let's get into the Forney mindset, with our price being 200,000 is the lowest price home that we're going to be doing the calculation on. And let's go to the middles around here. Let's call this, let's do 420. 420 seems about right. 420 is going to be the mid price point that we're going to work with. And then we're going to go over here. I'm going to call it a cool million. Let's say a cool million is what we're going to go after to give us an idea on that luxury side of Forney. All right, so these are the numbers that we're going to work with. And yeah, let's start working on those, and then I'll fill in how much salary we need up here once we start making the calculations. But first we need to start making some assumptions. Let's start prepping the scene. So let's go here. Let's zoom in a little bit more so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so the tool that we're using is linked down below. This is called our max price calculator. This max price calculator gives us how much we can spend on a home given the salary that we're making. So here again, it's going to intake how much you are making factor in the market conditions, essentially the interest rate, property taxes, and everything in between. And it's going to give you up to what amount you can purchase. It's going to give you different scenarios. It's going to give you a range. It's going to give you a conservative price point, like, hey, based off of the information that we have and the information that you gave us, at this price point, you're going to have a I'm not going to say risk-free, but a more conservative price, like a conservative amount that you can spend on a home. But it can also give you the what we call risky loans, where it will absolutely max out the most that you could possibly borrow, just so you have that number as well. Now, I never teach to that, meaning I never give, whenever we're doing discovery calls with our clients, I never encourage any of us to take the risky one, but I'll show you that here once we do the breakdown. For our purposes today, we're going to say that we're going to put 5% down on the purchase of this home. This is one of the most common down payments that we see with our clients. Now, if you get a conventional loan, which is also a very, very, very common type of loan, the minimum down payment that you would need for a conventional loan is 3% down. So that's the minimum. If you were to get an FHA loan, which is a different type of loan, there's a different characteristics. The least down payment that you could put on an FHA loan is 3.5%. So conventional, 3%, FHA, 3.5%. Those are minimums. Now, today, again, we're going to go with 5% down. And I'll talk about the mortgage interest rate here in a little bit. All right, so interest rate. What interest rate can we obtain right now? By the time you're watching this video, whenever it happens to be, the best thing to do is really analyze what's happening in your market at that point in time. You could be watching this video a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. Interest rates are going to change. They change hourly. So what we're going to do is, what is the interest rate to buy a house right now? Just going to Google that, or some semblance of that. Essentially, you're looking for the mortgage interest rate, and go to Bankrate. We used to use the Google map, the Google breakdown, but what I found was that it takes too long for it to update to true numbers that are happening in today's market. So Bankrate has been really, really good for us, giving us some accurate estimates, some accurate averages that we can work from. So here, as of Sunday, the time of this recording, August 18th, current interest rate in Texas is 6.41 for the 30-year, and a little bit less for the 15-year fixed. So here we're going to go with the 6.41. And as you can see, that 6.5, that was on Wednesday's live stream. So just within a matter of a couple of days, the interest rate has changed significantly from my estimation. So 6.41% is the interest rate right now on average on a 30-year. How long is your mortgage? We're going to go with the 30-year, although you have the option of changing to a 20-year, a 15-year, whatever you feel like. But I would encourage you to go 30-year, because that's what's most standard and allows you to get the most bang for your buck in many occasions. All right, so property tax rate. This is where we're going to spend a little bit of time, especially in Forney, because Forney is probably going to have some PIDs and it's probably going to have some MUDs. Now, if you don't understand what that means like right now, I don't either. No, I do understand those. It's just property taxes are interesting. So whenever you buy a property, first thing to understand is you're paying property taxes on that property. So whenever you purchase a property, different to you renting, different to you leasing, when you purchase a property, you're paying property taxes on the assessed value of that home. So number one, understand that you're paying property taxes. Number two, the second thing to understand, just to have awareness, I'm not trying to scare anybody into not taking action here, but the second thing to understand is, why is my camera off? Because I turned it off, that's why. The second thing to understand is that property tax rates in the state of Texas are high. So they're high. They're among the highest in the nation. So Texas has the 6th highest property tax rate in the country, with New Jersey being number 1. So that's the second thing to understand. The third thing to understand is that in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you have up to 5 numbers to find. So up to 5 rates that you need to find in the city that you're buying in, and add them together to get your true property tax rate. So I'll say it again. There's up to 5 numbers that you're going to find whenever you're going into a Forney, whenever you're going into a Saxe, whenever you're going into a Garland, Mesquite, Dallas, whatever city you're looking at in the DFW Metroplex, there's going to be up to 5 numbers that you're going to want to look for. So the first 3 numbers, every single city is going to have them. That's the city tax rate, the county tax rate, and the ISD tax rate, so the school district tax rate. And then in many cases, there's going to be 2 additional ones. It's either going to be a higher education tax rate, so think of community colleges, or a hospital network. If you're in Dallas, think of Parkland as an example. Now, to confuse this a little bit further, since Forney is a little bit outside of town, just slightly, we are looking at some PIDs, you are looking at some MUD taxes out here, and I'll show you what those mean here shortly. So let's dig in here and find that information real quick. So the best thing to do is go back to our friend Google, Forney, Texas property tax rate. Now I'm gonna first we're gonna find this, and then I'm gonna share with you what we're talking about. All right, so whenever you Google, several websites are gonna show up. Ideally, you want all the information to come from the city website. So here, forneytexas.gov, that's the one that I want. But oftentimes you're gonna have like an economic development, kind of what you see here, which is, for my estimation, I think they're associated to the city, but not really with the city. Something different there. Something, I don't know what, honestly, I don't know what exactly their relationship is. And then you have the county website, and then some third-party websites. Is the property tax incorporated into your monthly mortgage or paid separately? Oh, such a good question, Tanya. So with property taxes, if you put enough money down, you can pay property taxes outside of the loan. If you put enough money down, so with enough down payment, you can pay those outside of the loan. So what some people do is pay a substantial amount. Typically, you're looking at 20% down or above to be able to pay the property taxes independently. So from your bank account, if you will. In most cases, however, such a good question, Tanya. Thank you. In most situations, however, it is going to be paid alongside your mortgage payment every single month. So in your mortgage payment, you're going to pay the principal, which is the amount that you borrowed. You're going to pay the interest, which is how much it cost you to borrow that. You're going to pay property taxes every single month, and then it's going to be held in escrow for you by the mortgage servicer, so the individuals that are taking over your account. And you're also going to be paying homeowners insurance. So the homeowners insurance is this is a premium. Here again, you're paying every single month, and then the insurance gets paid by your servicer. And in this particular case, given our scenario that we're going with right now, since we put less than 20% down, we're going to be responsible for mortgage insurance, which is an insurance that's paid by the, let me rephrase that, which is an insurance that the lender puts on you in the event that you default and makes you pay for it. What a time to be alive, right? But we'll get into the mortgage insurance here shortly. So long story short, you can pay your property taxes outside of the mortgage, but you'll need to have put enough money down in order to do so. In most cases, you're paying property taxes every single month, and then the mortgage servicer will pay those on your behalf when they're due. All right, so what I did here, in case you didn't see what I was doing, so I clicked on tax rates for Forney, and let's see if Forney makes it simple for us to look and find the property taxes that we need. All right, proposed tax rate, taxes, notice about taxes, tax rate, city, Kaufman, ISD. Yeah, there's going to be some PIDs, there's going to be some MUDs here. So let me see if I can do something real quick. no, that website's no longer active. So what I was looking for, let's address this, and then we'll talk about PIDs, which is property improvement districts. That's what PID, PID, property improvement districts, that's what they mean. And then MUD, fees, those are, or taxes, you're looking at municipal utility districts. I think I got those right. But there was a website that would make those available a lot easier for us to look at, and I just, the one that, yeah, I can't find it right now. We'll look at this, and I'll give us the game plan here shortly, because we have more than enough to work with right now. So remember those three. Let's go back. Remember those up to 5 different numbers that we would look for. Well, we have 3 that we knew we were gonna stumble across. So these rates that we knew absolutely had to be here, which is the city tax rate, which is right here, the county tax rate, which Forney is in Kaufman County, for those that don't know. So you have the county tax rate, and then you have the ISD tax rate. So here it's the Independent School District of Forney. So these 3 we knew we were going to have. Now, I didn't suspect, given Forney, I didn't suspect we were going to have a higher education, so community college, and I didn't expect us to have a health network tax, because we were too far away from Dallas and we weren't even in the same county. So I suspected this, which 2.2%, just to give you an idea, this is actually middle. This is not too high. This is not too low. The average of property taxes in the DFW Metroplex on the low end, like the extreme low end, is about 1.8%. On the high end, you're looking at 3% in property taxes. So here with the city of Forney, it's about on par. Now, one of the things that we're not going to be able to get exact today is when you buy in a new build community, as an example, well, rephrase that. When you buy a property outside the city limits altogether, you are going to be looking at potentially a PID, a property improvement district, that's what it stands for, and then and or a MUD, which is the municipal utility district. Those will show up. But again, as it says here, going to the tax office or going to the website for, well, preferably you go to a website that works. Just go to Kaufman CAD. So Kaufman. We'll go to Kaufman CAD. Go in here and find the property that you're looking for, that you're buying, and then see what that is. Now, if you are buying in a new build, as an example, a new build community, the new build community will tell you what additional taxes you may be responsible, like a PID, like a MUD, and things of that nature. But for all intents and purposes, let's just keep it simple. This is for sure you're going to be taxed at 2.205%. This is the property tax rate that we're going to use in today's calculation, because I don't want to just randomly make up some numbers, even though I know you're most likely going to run into one or the other, a PID or a MUD. But for our purposes today, this is going to be more than enough. I feel comfortable moving forward with it. And I'll even round up just because I know it. All right, so property tax rate. Let me see if I can back up. It wasn't too different, so I won't make that point. But here again, with any city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you're looking at different property tax rates. The first 3 that you're going to find, the first 3 that you're going to need is city tax rate, county tax rate, and the ISD tax rate. These 3 you're going to have regardless. Now, in many cases, you're going to have a higher education, so think community colleges, or you're going to have a hospital network tax. So think of, if you're in Dallas, think Parkland. So in this particular case, we only have those 3 numbers, which is good. We're not going to argue with it. We want as least property taxes as possible. That's what we're going to go with. Insurance rate. This is an estimate. Think of this like a little formula here. As you purchase a property, the quickest thing to do is just basically multiply whatever the value of the home is times 0.75%. 0.75%. You're going to be multiplying these numbers times 0.75%. So it's less than a percentage. So whenever you're typing it into the calculator, it's 0.0075. That's where you're going to look at. And what it's going to give you is the yearly premiums, an estimated yearly premiums on home insurance that you then divide by 12. Now I'm giving you the actual math on the back end, knowing that here, once we click on the 3rd tab, it's going to have done the work for you. So no worries there. All right, so let's talk about mortgage insurance. I see text Pat. Let's see what are we saying? Let me try to move it to where it can be read. Moving to Texas, hopefully by the end of the year, start of next year, we'll be covering Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. Need to be near an airport and would prefer DFW. Would suggest Forney or somewhere else. How often are you trying to get to the DFW area? I'll never phrase that. To the airport. Need to be near to the airport. If you could share a little bit of the budget, I could give you some cities a little bit easier. So right now, based off of the information that you're giving me, text Pat, I would I'm looking more for real estate prices. I like Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie would be a really good option for you. I'm factoring in a lot of different things, but prioritizing real estate prices. Grand Prairie would be a good option, I would suggest. Carrollton, I like. Irving, I like. So right around that east side of the Dallas-Fort Worth, of the International Airport, the DFW Airport is where I'm thinking right now. And welcome to Texas, as you're considering it. So that would be our calculation that we go with. Now, if you're in a state or if you're in an area that you need a bit more home insurance, if you will, just up this, move it to 0.8%. But for a reasonable estimate, 0.75 is good. Mortgage insurance. So we're pretending that we're going to do a conventional loan with good credit, and not excellent credit, but just good credit. So here's where we talk about mortgage insurance, and it's where a lot of people kind of get upset. And honestly, I rightly so. Mortgage insurance. Let's talk about it for a quick second. If we put less than 20% down, remember we're putting less than 20% down. If we put less than 20% down, we are paying what's called mortgage insurance, regardless if we get an FHA loan or a conventional loan. Anything that we're putting less than 20% down, we're responsible for mortgage insurance, which is a insurance that the lender puts on you in the event that you default. So not only are they taking the property back, but they're also getting some additional insurance, if you will, in the event that happens. So with this mortgage insurance, you are going to be paying an additional, not a full percentage, but you are going to be paying an additional, think of it like a tax, think of it like a fee, think of it like an additional percent, not a full percentage point, but you're paying an additional interest, if you will, because we didn't put 20% down. Now here's where I kind of lose people. I don't necessarily suggest that. I don't suggest that you wait for 20%, for you to have 20% down to avoid mortgage insurance. In my estimation, although mortgage insurance is a bit, nobody wants to pay more than they need to, you're going to find how reasonable the mortgage interest rate is, or the mortgage interest amount is in the grand scheme of things. Because if you wait for 20% down, well, 20% down on a property like $200,000, that's $40,000, right? Is that right? Hopefully that's correct. Yeah, that's right. And with 5%, you're looking at $10,000. Again, hopefully these numbers are right. I shouldn't do math in public. But with that being said, that's what we're talking about. So less than 20% down, we're paying mortgage insurance. With a conventional loan, we're talking about types of loans. With a conventional loan, eventually you get rid of that mortgage insurance, so it falls off. And just by the math, it would take you about 10 to 11 years, just pure math, to get rid of the mortgage insurance if you were to go with 5% down. Now that's just math based, meaning you put 20% down. How long will it take for me to get 20% owner equity into my home? Well, with a conventional loan, you're looking at putting 5% down with factoring in some appreciation, meaning as the value of your home goes up, you could get 20% owner equity in your property within 7 years. Depends on how real estate prices happen. But again, just from the math perspective, within about 10 to 11 years, you get rid of that mortgage insurance from a conventional loan. From an FHA loan, you never get rid of mortgage insurance. It stays on the life of that loan. So either you pay off that loan in its entirety, then you can get rid of mortgage insurance, you refinance out of an FHA into something else, or you sell your property. Those are the three ways that you would be able to get rid of that mortgage insurance from an FHA. How long in Texas does mortgage insurance last for life? Tanya, you are not a first-time home buyer. You're crazy. You have really good questions. You're crazy. Very, very, very good question. Which coincidentally we just talked about that. So that's and I think it kind of came in right as we were covering that. With FHA loans, it stays there forever. With a conventional loan, eventually you get rid of it. In a land of high appreciation, meaning a land of home prices going up, you can knock that out within 6 to 8 years. In a land of just stagnant prices, just based off of math, you're looking at about 10 to 11 years to get rid of it through a conventional loan. Great question, Tanya. Yearly HOAs. Forney's at this point, Forney, I do have to add an HOA fee here. And I'm going to add a reasonable yearly rate of $400 in Forney. Why is that the case? Well, over 85% of the new homes that get sold are sold into an HOA. So it's going to be harder and harder for you to avoid HOAs in Forney, especially if you're buying homes that have been built in the last 20 years. So that's why I have to do it. Now, if there wasn't as much new construction, if Forney was just the more traditional, like no growth type of city or town, then I wouldn't factor in an HOA because you wouldn't have as many. But given all the new builds going up in the area, HOAs are a way of life at this point. All right, so remember, we got to get to a $200,000, $420,000, and $1 million property. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say that we make $50,000. That's going to be our starting point. Now let's go even lower. Let's go $40,000. We make $40,000. All right. Now what we need to do, so this is our yearly gross income. Don't factor in taxes quite yet. The ratio that this particular calculator works on is going to factor that in along with the expenses that you have. So essentially the expenses to live. What it won't factor in is what you need to add to the equation, which is your debt. So we're talking about student loans, we're talking child support, we're talking credit cards, we're talking car loans. What debt do you have? We're going to be adding that to our equation. Now, again, this is linked down below. So make sure that when you download it, go to File, make a copy. And this particular sheet that you see here is going to go into your Google Drive so you can use it. And that way you can name your debt very comfortably because you know that's knowing that this is all going to be in your particular file or your particular drive, not mine. And then putting the minimum monthly payment that you're making. Now, when it comes to the debt, what isn't debt, which is more expenses, this is your phone bill, this is your gas, the food, like normal living expenses. Do not add those. Those are expenses. Those have already been factored into the equation that have been set up on the back end. Now, if you have a co-borrower, you're going to do the exact same thing, whether it's another family member signing or a spouse or what have you. Add their yearly income here and their debt here as well. For our purposes today, we're just saying that we make $40,000. There's no expenses to our name. I would be in Texas since I am planning to relocate in 1 to 2 years. Awesome. Where are you coming from, Tanya? Where are you coming from? Well, a lot of future Texans here. That's awesome. All right, so with that being said, we've set up the premise. We know what real estate prices are. We know what the current market conditions are when it comes to the loans, when it comes to the economics of it. And then we also know what our inputs are, essentially what we bring to the table, which in this case would be cash, right? The amount of money that we make. Now what we need to do is find out how much we can actually afford. So whenever I click here, we're going to revisit this here shortly, so don't worry about that. What's important for us is this max price calculator gives us a range to work from. So based off of all of the inputs that we just did and the income that we have, the most that we would be able to qualify for when we're trying to buy a property is $168,000 property. But with that being said, that's the riskiest loan that we can take. Why is it the riskiest? Well, it's because that's the one that we leverage the most. It's the one where we have the most amount of debt, right? So we're maxing out how much we could actually purchase a property for. Now the least amount, well, you could do less than this, but basically we categorize based off of sentiment, based off of ratios. We categorize the amounts to give you a better sense of what we would consider like moderate loans, conservative loans, safe loans, based off of the income that you have, essentially based off of the responsibilities that you have. So if you make $40,000 based off of the current market conditions and what everything factored in, from the down payment, interest, property taxes, and everything in between, the most that you would be able to purchase in this environment would be a property for $168,000, right? That's the most. Now, whenever we do our breakdowns, whenever we do our analysis, both here on our YouTube channel and also in our discovery calls with our clients, we do not try to get these loans. We do not try to get to the risky loans. We don't even try to hit the aggressive mark. We try to get whatever property we're trying to buy. Let's say, well, I'll show you the example here. Whatever property we're trying to buy, that amount we want to be between the moderate and the aggressive loan. So a number between this and this is what we're shooting for. So in our breakdown, we are shooting for the least expensive home right now in Forney is $200,000. Remember, we did the breakdown over here, and we said that we're not going to do this one because it's a manufactured home, so it doesn't really meet our criteria that we're looking for. So we're shooting for a $200,000 property instead. So we need that $200 to be in between here. Now, how are we able to accomplish that? Well, we're going to have to go to our boss real quick. We're going to have to ask for a raise. So we're going to pretend that we make $50,000 instead of $40,000 and see what number that gives us. So in this particular breakdown, with the $50,000 salary, we would be able to purchase this property. Given our numbers, like we would be able to qualify for up to $211,000 property. So as long as it fits between these two numbers, I feel comfortable making the recommendation that, hey, you are going to be good in a good spot to purchase. So for our purposes today, we would need to make $50,000 to make this a reality for us out in Forney. All right, so now if we wanted to go out and purchase a property for $420,000, what would that look like? Well, we would have to get back with our boss and try to get a raise once again, and this time we're going to be making $80,000 a year and see what that gives us. So notice that I don't know how to get rid of this. All right, we're going to make do with it. Notice that the 400,000 and what is it? $420,000. It's not between our moderate and aggressive because these are, again, this is our way of doing this. We do not want to max it out. We do not want to get a loan out here in the extreme because being house poor is very challenging. Whenever there's a month that comes a little bit light, whether we're not getting the overtime that we're used to, whether we don't get the bonus that we were counting on, whether we don't, maybe we get sick for a few days and we're not able to work, we do not want that type of pressure. So we don't want to overextend ourselves because the moment we fall behind on 1 month, it's so hard to catch up. It's so hard to catch up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and get a raise once again. So we're going to say we make $90,000 and we're still a little bit short. Maybe I should be a little bit more aggressive. Let's say we make $105,000. And now we're in between that moderate and the aggressive. So that $420,000 fits within this range where we're trying to be from a moderate and aggressive loan. So this means that we need to make $105,000 to be able to purchase this property for $420,000. So that's what our salary needs to be. Is this making sense? Let me know in the chat if this is making sense. If not, we can readjust, but this is a math on a property in Forney. So either we're making $50,000 to be able to afford that $200,000 property. If we want to buy that $420,000 property, to give you an idea of what we're shooting for, just from a visual perspective, we're looking at new builds basically. Look at that bad boy, 4,700 square feet. How cool is that? Out in Forney. So you have $105,000 is what you would need to make. All right, so now let's go into the luxury space. Let's get into the luxury space for Forney. So for the Forney property, just to give you an idea of what we were shooting for, is we decided not to do. When I say we, I mean I made the decision for you. We're going to shoot for these types of properties as opposed to the multi-million-dollar ones, but we can do that breakdown if needed. Now, as you're coming in, just a quick reminder, a like is going to go a long way. It's going to really help grow this channel and reach as many people as possible. I appreciate everybody that hops on. Let me know where you're from. Drop any questions in the comments section down below. Thank you, TextPat. Thank you, Tanya, for being so active. I appreciate the heck out of you. All right, so let's do some more. Our career trajectory right now is crazy. We started making $40,000. Now we make 105. I mean, tell you, we're speed running through our career real quick. All right, so now we need to buy $1 million property. $1 million property is changing the game for us. So what we need to do is we need to ask for another raise. Now this time, let's do some larger jumps. What if we made $250,000? What type of loan would we get access to at that point? By the hair of our chinny chin, we got that. Well, we had some room. We had some room. So that just so happened to be the number. So, we could actually make less if we want to change that. Just slightly. No, I feel more comfortable making 250. Right, who wouldn't, right? So yearly gross income, you would need about $250,000 to be able to purchase that property for $1 million. Now, again, we're not trying to max it out on the risky. We're not trying to even max it on the aggressive. We're trying to find that balance between that home that we want and that we're financially capable of purchasing without bankrupting ourselves with certain when certain months get a little bit tough. So here, because the $1 million mark hits between the moderate and the aggressive, which is our sweet zone, I feel comfortable with this number. I feel comfortable making $250K and being able to comfortably afford that $1 million property that I was eyeing down, right? So one of the things that we need to factor in, well, let me do one quick thing real quick. All right, so now that that exercise is over, so now that we know how much we would need to make, I want to give y'all the math on this right here. I want to give y'all the math on a $420,000 property so you can see what the breakdown of that would be. So don't factor this into our equation right now. I just want to make a slight adjustment. So we can walk through this together. All right, so let's say we are buying this property for $430,000 in Forney. So you see where all the math goes. So you see where all the numbers go. Let's say we're buying this property for $430,000. If we were to do a 5% down, we're looking at a little bit over $21,000. Estimated closing costs would be just shy of $11,000. So estimated closing costs, that's factoring in lender fees, title fees, factoring in fees on fees, factoring in a lot of different things. You're going to be shocked. You're going to be so shocked when you see a closing disclosure. If you haven't purchased your first home, you're going to be shocked how many fees show up. So that's why we budget those in. But anyway, we're looking at $32,000 of closing costs, basically. It factors in the 5% down, which goes directly into your home ownership of that property. And then the others are costs, our fees, are things that you're never going to get back. So you're looking at about $32,000 that you need to come to the table with at closing. So you need to wire that into the title company, or you need to have a cashier's check ready to go. This is you having $32,000 liquid. So that's for you to get into the loan. Now, as far as your monthly payment, you're looking at a monthly payment of about $3,800 per month to be able to purchase this property of $430,000. So your principal and interest would be about $2,554. Principal is the amount that you borrow. Interest is how much it costs you to borrow that. So in this particular case, just know that from the principal and interest standpoint, in your first several years, quite a few years, most of your payments are going to go into the interest. Very little is going to go to your principal to pay down that principal. So if you have the ability, not forcing you, but just if you have the ability to pay a little bit more into the principal every single month, it's going to allow you to pay down your loan a lot quicker than 30 years. So if you make an extra payment every year, so just a full payment every year, you would have paid your 30-year note in about 24 years. That's how big of a snowball that becomes. Property taxes. Property taxes is why I spend so much time with property taxes. Is why I'm such a if this channel is known for anything, it's new construction and property taxes. You're not going to find another channel out here that talks as much about property taxes. It's a love-hate thing. We love to explain what property taxes are, but we hate the fact that we have to because property taxes, nobody likes to pay those. I know I don't. But we have to understand what property taxes do for our monthly budgets. For here, you're looking at $791 per month. Now, granted, this is probably going to be a little bit higher because we like to give conservative numbers, and also because we're using the market value, not the assessed value of this property. I know that sounds a little bit wordy, but just trust me on that. But even still, the property taxes on a property like this, you're looking at about $725 per month. Even though I kind of baked in a little bit of error, but also more like a cushion for mistakes for budgeting purposes. But either way, property taxes, almost $800 in property taxes. That's quite high every single month. Homeowners insurance, this is an estimated premium amount, so you're looking at $268. Now, this could go a little bit higher, could be lower. So how can this be lower? If you buy a brand new home, this is going to be almost half. Almost half if you buy a brand new home when it comes to homeowners insurance, because it's new, right? It's a lot easier to insure a home that is 0 years old versus a home that is 58 years old, right? So just as a little heads up there. Mortgage insurance, this is that mortgage insurance that gets assessed at the beginning of the loan. If you get a conventional loan, this eventually goes away. Again, if you're in an area of high appreciation, if you're in an environment of higher appreciation, you're going to get through with this mortgage insurance within 6 to 8 years. If you're in an area of just moderate appreciation or not that much appreciation at all, mathematically you're going to get done with this in about 10 to 11 years. With a conventional loan, with an FHA loan, mortgage insurance is there for life until you pay it off or refinance or sell the property. Homeowners Association, we budget this in here just so you see it, because it is money at the end of the day, but it's not actually collected in the monthly mortgage payment. We just like to show it in here. So yes, this does include this number here, but know that you're not paying the homeowner's insurance per month. You're paying that at the beginning of the year via a 30 net. Sometimes not even a 30 net. They'll give you a notice and pay this now, and you have to pay it. So in a quick recap, if you're trying to buy a house in the city of Forney, the least expensive home right now in the area is $200,000. So if you make $50,000, you're in the clear. The mid price point right now in Forney is $420,000, so you would need to make $105,000. The higher end, I didn't put the $4 million property up here, but on the higher end, the more luxury environment, you would need to make about $250,000 in order to purchase a home out in Forney. Folks, I appreciate the heck out of you. Thanks for coming out and hanging out on a Sunday. I know we do live streams quite a bit, so these are I enjoy doing these. So if at any point you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, and you want us to look at that specific your specific scenario, please feel free to schedule a discovery call with us. We do these every single day with our clients. So whether you're looking to relocate into Texas tomorrow or next year or in 5 years from now, it's never too early to start. That's why you come in with your eyes wide open, because there's a few things that you need to be aware of before you actually make the move. Anyway, hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks so much. If I could be of any service for you now or in the future, just let me know. See you on the next one.